the most important thing to do right now is to choose the right partners and to choose the companies and the partners that you believe are going to continue to invest back into their own technology, back into their teams, back into what they're building, so that as a physician or a practice manager or somebody that is running the practice, you're not having to constantly go out and look at the marketplace and understand the marketplace. You have trusted partners that are doing that. You don't have to understand what's changing between the different models. And we do testing all the time on different models and say one might be the best today and another might be the best tomorrow. And that stuff's changing, but that falls on us. That's not falling on a practice. That's not falling on an office manager or somebody else. So I think at this specific moment in time, the best thing you can do is find the right partners that you believe are going to be here for the long haul, that are going to continue to understand what the problems are that you're facing and iterate through those solutions. It's one of the biggest advantages. We just said it in just a moment ago of us having Siddhar, Dr. New, as one of our co-founders and chief medical officer. We have a physician that we get to ask these questions of every single day. And we have real users that are coming in and giving us feedback every single day.
We're saying healthcare is slow to adopt. I more say they're deliberate, right? They have a practice, they have a workflow that works, and they don't want to just willy-nilly change what they're putting in there and mess that up and mess up that entire workflow. But I think once you find a trusted partner and you get in the door, they're willing to, have us experiment quickly. They're very good at giving feedback to us on what's working, what's not working. So we're able to move quickly with that. Once we're in the door, once we are a trusted partner, I think they are willing to be flexible with us.
And even understanding the workflow and fitting alongside the workflow and not coming in. There's so many tools out there that say, okay, here's a new login, here's a new system for you to go to, here's a new process for you to do. And what we found very, very quickly was that's not helpful to practices. We may save time over here, but it's costing us time over here. So integrating into the existing workflow and making things faster within that workflow, far more important than having another really fancy web app that looks really cool for somebody to log into.
I think it's funny you guys both mentioned partnership and having a partner you can trust, because at the conference I was at that I mentioned, there was panels with administrators, and that was the number one thing they said. They will only work with companies with trustworthy people. It's about the people. And, seeing LinkedIn and just seeing how many AI products are out there, you can pretty quickly spot the ones that you're like, oh, I'm not sure if that one is up to par for, my institution. So I think it's interesting that both sides are seeing like the partnership is very important. So importance of building trust. So switching gears to cybersecurity, we talked about it a little bit, but can we dive in a little bit deeper and just talk about the mechanisms to actually keep the patient data safe?
Any application you're working with, you need to think about cybersecurity early on and think about user data. This is even more elevated when you're working with a healthcare application, because now you have not only HIPAA requirements, but like this is real people's patient data, like their medical records, and you don't want to be loose, and you don't want to be loose with that at all, right? So you have high obligations there. Adding, AI and LLMs into that is like a whole other thing, because not only, the model providers you're using, you have to trust them and make sure that they're using the data correctly that you're sending them, or maybe you're, running your own models in order to keep that safe. You need to make that determination and be thinking about that. But then also, how are you using those LLMs? Are they sort of cordoned off for the rest of your system to where they can't be accessing someone else's data? How are you sort of building that system in a way that you're not sort of leaking data all over the place? So yeah, you need to really be careful about all those things. I think that's one thing we've really prioritized early on, because we know you can only lose someone's trust once, especially in the medical space. Like, hey, that's really going to hurt you. So been very careful about that from day one.
And even as an early startup, we've already begun the process of going for our SOC 2 Type 1 and SOC 2 Type 2, and we'll continue to go through that process and prioritize being not only saying all the right things, but doing all the right things. And I think that's really important, is that when you think about architecture and building from the beginning, our goal was always, our belief, and this has been my belief and a lot of other organizations as well, but a big one that I have here is your data is your data. It's not our data. But even more than that, it's your patient's data. It's not even really your data, it's your patient's data. And the person that needs to be the most secure and that feel the most secure is the end patient, because it's their information, it's their medical record. And so it's our obligation to keep that information safe and secure and allow them to access it when they need it, but not using it in a loose and willy-nilly fashion. Building that type of architecture from the beginning and going after things like SOC 2 Type 1 and SOC 2 Type 2 and all of those things have been a core thing that we've done from the very beginning. And I think I joke with Tyler and Sadar and my two other co-founders that one of the very first things I did was I wanted to hire a cybersecurity expert to come in and challenge us. And we're like, we're pinching pennies on whether or not we can, afford to get an extra parking space at our office. But, I want to spend money on cybersecurity. But I would rather spend money there and understand how we are keeping our data secure, because it's core to who we are.